Hello everyone, welcome to the Sportscast. It's me, Andy Grant, and I've got Gary Judge here from Across the Park podcast, all the way from Las Vegas. How is it there, mate?
It's hot, really hot. I've been here since Sunday. So it's we're recording now your time. Obviously, we're Wednesday night. It's Wednesday early afternoon here. We're 8 hours behind. So I've been here since Sunday. I've been working or I've been coaching in the 42, 43 degree heat for like 5 hours. So I'm like sunburned to death and absolutely knackered because I'm still jet lagged. But yeah, I can't complain. I'm in Vegas.
I was going to say, you're getting no sympathy off me for moaning when you're in Las Vegas, my spiritual home, mate, so wind your neck in. It's our first Sportscast since we completed the Goggins challenge, so just thanks for everyone who's donated. We got loads of messages and support. A few people who watched the pod came running with us, which was great. We raised, I think it's just over 11 grand, which is amazing. So, just want to say a massive thank you for all the support we got from the podcast. Meant a lot, it was brilliant. We had a little bit of bad news with regards to podcast equipment being stolen, but it wouldn't have mattered anyway, as I was saying, Gary's been away in Vegas, but we will get ourselves back sorted and make sure we're back in the workshop soon and back to normal. But yeah, bit of a sour note on what was a great last weekend of raising loads of money. But these things happen in life.
Yeah, it was a great weekend when we finished it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, when we finished it, yeah. And like you say, our producer Musk's done a brilliant video of what it was like. So again, go and check it out on the channel.
And just on that note as well, give Muscatelli means a follow. Obviously, produces our podcast, but he obviously does a lot of his own work. So you've got businesses out there and you're looking for extra content, you're looking for someone to create some extra bits for you, then give them a follow or give his page a follow. He's built up a tidy portfolio now.
Yeah, no, 100%. He's working with loads of people now and his work's getting better and better, isn't it? That's what we can see, so it's brilliant. Mate, we'll start off with the Euros. I'll be completely honest, it's not really been set alight for me. Maybe it was because we were doing that challenge and my kind of focus was on that, and then I had an infection at my stump afterwards. And maybe you were away, so I knew we weren't going to be recording one, but I don't know what it was. But for me, the Euros just hasn't been what I think, the Euros should be. I think the teams in it have been really poor. There's been some dreadful games, especially in England's group. Just not overly impressed with any particular standout performers, players, teams, managers, games. I mean, people might come back at me and say, did you not see this game? But my honest answer would be no. I just haven't really been overly bothered. Maybe that'll change now that the group stage is over, but up to now, just not being impressed whatsoever. Don't know what you think.
No, I wouldn't necessarily disagree. I think a couple of teams that had because there's a reason for that. It had stuck out to me. Were Germany, Portugal, Spain. I mean, I say had because 2 hours ago Portugal, had been very good, very clinical in the first few games, and then get beat 2-0 by Georgia with a full strength team out. And I caught the end of that game. I seen Ronaldo storming off the pitch, fuming, and obviously no one's got higher standards than him, and he's realised that they dropped the level against Georgia, and if you're going to do that in the group stages, there's probably you've got a few too many chinks in your armour to go on and win it. And he's won it before, obviously, with a lot worse team than they've got now. I think they've got a ridiculous squad in terms of depth. And they'd look good up until then. I thought Germany looked decent. But again, you look around, there's a few too many average players in their squad. Spain look exciting. I've enjoyed watching Spain in the games they played. But no, I wouldn't necessarily disagree with you. I think, obviously, the big disappointment has been England, as you say. France have also looked really poor. They were, just before the tournament started for me, I thought, looking at the squads, I do fancy France. I mean, Mbappe obviously missed the second game and he's got that mask on now. But no, I wouldn't disagree with you. I think the general standard of the games has been poor. And you know what doesn't help? That whole third place thing. It's just led to too many where teams are just happy to get a draw because they're going to fit third. And like, too many teams have gone through who were just awful, as you say. So
I just seen in one of the group chats then it was like all that football that's being played and it's only so that a quarter of the teams can go out. It's a joke really, like, isn't it? It's mad, that third place rule.
Yeah, there's like whatever, like 8 teams that have gone out. It's It is terrible. But yeah, I mean, obviously a lack of depth there, isn't there? And they wanted to extend the competition, but couldn't do that by not allowing teams to go through. But England's group half sums it up. I think there was like 10 goals in a combined 9 games or something. It's
Yeah,
pathetic.
no, that's been mate, and I think England. If we just stick to England, really, it's just been so woeful, haven't they? I mean, there's just been nothing really exciting to write home about. Whether you want to talk about individual performances or managerial decisions, I think it's just been pretty dire from start to finish. There's been some mad stats that have come out from our performances. I've seen Phil Foden has made more passes to Jordan Pickford than he has Harry Kane. I mean, what a stat that is for who was the best player in England last year. And I
Mm.
just think that just shows maybe that Southgate is maybe trying to just crowbar all his best players into a team when actually there's no teamwork about that team whatsoever. I think Phil Foden's used to being in, a well-oiled team.
Galvanised, yeah.
Yeah, and I think it sums up like, good players need to be surrounded by good players, but they need to work in a team. It's like, Haaland, as great as Haaland isn't scoring 50 goals if he's playing for Bristol City. I think, yeah, there are great players in this England team, but it's just clear for everyone to see that they're not used to playing with each other. There's no patterns of play. And it's almost as if, again, Phil Foden's used to having the ball so much more at Man City that when he's getting the ball for England, he's not getting as many touches of the ball. So it's like, right, I need to do something amazing because I'm not getting as many touches, and things just seem a little bit forced, a bit laboured. There was just no zip in the passes going forward. I could moan about so many things about it. Players playing out of position. I think Trippier at left back. Joe Gomez, I think, had played more minutes at left back than any other player at England's squad and hasn't even had a
Mm.
minute on the pitch. You look at Trent, almost was just lost in midfield. And it just reminds me of that interview that Jurgen Klopp done where he said, why would you want to put one of the best right backs in the world in centre midfield? There's just been so much going wrong with that whole team selection with everything about it. Um, and again, it's just left for a very uninspiring start for the Euros for I think England fans.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think the one thing I would say, I'm not saying in defence of the manager, probably in defence of the whole group, is a lot was made of the only thing was going to stop England from winning this Euros is the defence. So I don't know if there's been like an overemphasis on that in the camp and an overemphasis on like the mentality of the players to go, look, we know we can score, but let's just make sure we keep that back door shut. And it's resulted in performances that have, as you say, been so uninspiring and so disjointed. But that can have that impact. That can have that effect on a group of players. If it's rammed down your throat, look, we need to make sure we keep this tight. We need to keep that tight. You can find that your general mentality is, let's not overcommit ourselves because that can happen. Let's not do this because that can happen. And as you say, it took away what was so good about this England team at times. And going back to the first point you made around shoehorning players in, that's the one thing I think Southgate's been quite good at is avoiding that temptation at times and leaving players out. Sorry, I might hear you. Many times he's left like, Grealish out down the years when he was playing really well, and he was like you can't not put him in the team, and he's used him off the bench, etc. So I think that's probably one of the more disappointing things for me is that he hasn't resisted that temptation. He's gone to play players just to play them because they're playing so well for the club.
I'm just so surprised that Cole Palmer's only had about 10 minutes as well. I thought he was one of the standout players of last season. I would have thought he would have got more game time. It shocked me that he hasn't. And
I think now that Foden's gone, he come on in the last game. Come on, they only caught the last half an hour of the last game, but he looked one of the brighter players on the pitch. I think now that Foden's gone, you'd like to think that frees up a space for him in that team.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the reason was. It's a family emergency back home for Foden, so you hope everything's all right with him there. And in a way, it could be a great thing for England. Obviously, hopefully nothing serious with Phil Foden and his family, but it could be a great thing for England because it just takes away that headache of should I play Foden or not. Foden's not there and can't be played, then maybe you can just play Palmer, or you can play people in. Maybe Andy Gordon gets a game instead, or I don't know. You can, because like I say, that he's passed the ball more to Pickford than Harry Kane has got to be one of the craziest stats ever.
Yeah.
When you think Bellingham was the best player in Spain, Foden was the best player in England, Kane scored nearly 50 goals for Bayern, and yeah,
But what
Foden has passed the ball more to Pickford than he has to Kane. I mean, that
you
is
look, you
just
can,
scandalous.
it's alarming in terms of that. I know what you're saying, and it is alarming. And I'm not going to make what I'm saying any less alarming. What does that say about Harry Kane as well?
I think
Just,
he's been awful as well. Yeah, I
yeah,
think he's
yeah,
been
and
terrible.
it's probably just as much a dig at Harry Kane as it is Phil Foden. Is that Harry Kane's not being in them positions? He's not got himself in that positions, and it's probably again just the damning on the system that we've not found a way to get Foden into those positions to be close to finding Harry Kane, and he's been so deep and so
Mm.
restricted where he's had to play.
I think where Southgate has not helped himself at all in his press conference when he's come out and he said we haven't got a natural successor for Calvin Phillips. I mean, oh my God, what
Wow,
if you've been trying to kind of wait
just to
for
find.
some replacements of a very bang average player who hasn't played football in 2 years or whatever it's been, I think he's lost a lot of confidence in the fans and the media. He already had his doubters, do you know what I mean? But I think when he come out with that, people are thinking, is he being for real there? And
Yeah,
I think that's making fans doubt his kind of tactical side, his substitutions, everyone was having a go at Trent that he can't play midfield. Why is Southgate waiting, to test these kind of Gallagher or Trent in midfield? Why are they testing these out at this game now? This should have been done in all of the friendlies beforehand and stuff. And I think Southgate's got a lot to answer for by how poor these performances have been these last few games.
Kobe Mainoo's a better player than Calvin Phillips will ever be.
Exactly.
And he's
Exactly.
the kids, but he's miles better. Miles better. All right, he's going to have certain frailties in his game, but there's no way you can't put Kobe Mainoo next to Declan Rice. And as you say,
Mm.
through few friendlies leading up to that, if he's looking for a success, and if that was genuine, he's looking for a success with Calvin Phillips. Why has he been playing Trent there? Because he's
Oh,
nowhere. He's not unlike him. So
we'll come on to him. We'll come on
sorry.
to him in a minute. But I got to interview Paul Merson today, and we were talking about England, and we were talking about that comment from Southgate. And Paul Merson said he was doing a speaking gig, or he was on TV or radio once, and someone said, "Oh, you heard what Calvin Phillips' nickname is?" He was like the Yorkshire, and Merson was like, "Terrier, the Yorkshire Terrier," like you know. And he was like, "No, the Yorkshire Perlo." Paul Merson was like, "Fucking messing me. The Yorkshire Perlo is more like the Yorkshire Terrier." And
Yorkshire
Paul Merson
Terrier.
was, being genuine. He was like, I genuinely
Yeah,
thought that might have been his nickname. So the
that's
fact
what he
that
does. Yeah,
somehow,
he breaks things up, and he's just a menace. Yeah.
yeah, but the fact that somehow, our Euro hopes are kind of are now scuppered because Southgate hasn't been able to find a natural, successor to the Yorkshire Terrier is just beyond me. So, um, do you know what I will say though? Despite me spending the first 10 minutes of the show slagging England off and slagging Southgate off, I do think they'll still win it, believe it or not.
I thought you were going to say, despite me spending half of me savings on England to win the Euros.
Well, I do think my bets have been are looking very wise because the way the draws worked out because of again maybe this third place rule and what have you. England's side of the draw is so favourable, and I said about England beating either France in the final or beating Germany in the final. Well, if you take away the fact that England aren't playing very well, I might not even make the final themselves. If you park that idea for a minute, logistically, the draw, it's worked out perfect. England are on one side, and France and Germany are on the other. And not only are France and Germany on the other side, they're also completely separate. So they actually could meet in the semis.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I think logistically, the bet has worked out perfectly, which is good news. The only other problem is England are shite. So that's the other issue of the bet. But again, you look at the team now, they've got Slovakia in the last 16, and then they're either going to play Italy or Switzerland in the quarters, and then probably Belgium or Holland in the semis. Now, they've only got to beat, let's say, Italy and Holland, and they're in the final. I mean, we can talk all day about winning the Euros or winning the World Cup and the qualifying it takes to get to these tournaments. Let's be honest, you only need to win. You only need to beat two or three big teams, and you've won it basically. Do you know what I mean? And that's what it's time for England to do now. You'd fancy them to beat Slovakia on Sunday, and again, Italy haven't looked great. You'd fancy them to beat Italy. You'd fancy them to beat Holland, and again, that just leaves the final then against, I'm hoping, either Germany or France. So, despite as bad as they've been, you look at that size of the draw and you go, Italy haven't been great. Holland haven't been great. Belgium haven't been. I don't know. There's no one there where you must be thinking, I hope we don't get them. So for that reason, I'm still quietly optimistic, even though England, like I've said, are shite.
I can see them grinding through that, quarters, semis, etc. I can't see them beating France or Germany, and I'm not saying like France and Germany are just. I can still see Germany going through the gears. And like the first performance, obviously we have watched it, and we like after our first. I know they were against the Scotland team, they were a man down and stuff, but they look like they had goals in, and they look like there's a system where they were creating chances. They're at home, and then France again. The quality of the players they've got, and a lot of them players they've kind of rested for different reasons. Like Chouameni and Camavinga have just been on the bench because of the Champions League final and stuff like that. They've hardly left the bench yet. Mbappe's obviously missed the second game and just come back into it. I can't see them beating either of those two, if I'm honest. But look, it's I think the one thing from a positive, if because there'll be people watching this going, come on, it's only the group stages. They got through with 5 points. They only conceded one goal. Yeah, fair enough. And maybe we should be saying that. That's not what tournament football's about, blowing all the teams away in the groups. You're supposed to actually go through the gears, aren't you, and get better as it goes on. And hopefully, for you and for everyone who's supporting England, that is the case.
I think if you look at the World Cup, Argentina got beaten in the first game. You look at the last Euros, Portugal drew every game in the group stage. So, you just said then, you don't have to light the group on fire. You can grind results out, not play that well. As long as you start turning up in these big games, then you've got a chance. And I think they're more than capable of doing that.
Yeah, I just think as a player and the manager, they'd all say this. I think they'd like a good performance in the next game. I think they to get a couple of goals and to feel like they played well. I just think that'll give them more confidence. And it's nice. I think it's good for players in the squad to go, well, look, we played really poorly and we've still not been beaten. Got 5 points out of a pretty tricky group actually, compared with the others. So I think that they'll maybe be trying to look at some of the positive, but there's no doubt about it. They'll want to put on a performance against Slovakia just to convince themselves that they've got more in the tank than what they've shown so far.
Yeah, I think the last thing I'll say on the England thing, which was a little bit disappointing as well, was Harry Kane coming out and having a pop at the likes of Gary Lineker on his podcast. I think Gary Lineker basically come out and gave a very honest assessment and said that basically they were shite, which they were. And Harry Kane's come out and kind of like, they should know better. They play for England. They know what it feels like, etc. I just think, that's England's captain. I just could never imagine, Roy Keane getting a microphone shoved in front of him and saying, have you heard what Gary Lineker said about you? Roy Keane would be like, I don't give a fuck what Gary Lineker says about me. You know what I mean? That kind of attitude. And it's a little bit, disheartening to think that Harry Kane is sitting there watching Gary Lineker's podcast thinking, I'm not quite happy what he's saying about me there. I mean, you just want them to get on with it, start playing football and concentrate on the things that matter rather than what pundits or fans are saying. You know what I mean?
All that would suggest to me is the pressure's getting to them a bit.
Yeah, maybe.
Anybody who's feeling confident or is in that frame of mind, you know what? Listen, they've got every right to have their opinion. They're ex-England players, the pundits. That's the job. We're just here to get on with our job, and we're confident we're going to get there. That's what you'd want, wouldn't you? That's the type of response you'd want.
Yeah, 100%.
And it just suggests to me, and Everton's coming out of the camp at the moment, just suggests that the pressure. And I've actually seen that comment, and it was who says it. Like the Declan Rice, I think, said, didn't he? Look, we're feeling the pressure. That's an obvious thing. Everyone should be feeling the pressure because that's, you're at the top, the pinnacle of football, really, and you're playing for your country, so you should be feeling the pressure. You've got your family at home, and you've got the country that are kind of willing you on. The country hasn't won a trophy for so long. They're your favourites going into it. They should be feeling the pressure, but you don't want to hear that.
this is what you want to be a player for, isn't it? Do you know
Yeah,
what I
yeah.
mean? Everyone wants to play for the World Cups, Euros, and stuff. So
Uh,
you need to just fucking moan it, to be honest. Um, Mate, on to Liverpool and Everton. I'll be honest, mate. It was nice to see Liverpool's manager actually make an appearance and say a few words. I mean, even I, one of the most devout, Jurgen Klopp supporters, was a little bit sick of the Jurgen Klopp farewell tour. I think most Reds I've spoke to have been as well. So it was actually nice just to see, Arne Slot actually, say a few words and stuff. But that's it. I've not heard anything much about signings. Nothing really going on. I think obviously he's just waiting to get players back from the Euros and try and get his ideas across. So pretty quiet on the Liverpool front, whereas Everton have already started making some moves, haven't they, on the pitch?
yeah, and the owners, the new owners are pretty much in now. I've actually been with some staff from Roma this week in Vegas and asking them about the owners, and they can't talk highly enough of them. Like, they're pretty senior at the club as well. And they just said, look, they're brilliant to work for. They run a tight ship, but they're not stingy. They back the team, they back the players, they back the manager. And that's obviously really, really nice to hear. Obviously, for us, you've still got to work within the FFP rules and the PSR rules and everything. But after the business we done with Dobbin going to Villa and the young kids from Villa coming in, that's released. That means that come the end of June now, we don't need to sell anyone else, and we can actually spend a bit of money. So it looks like Illiman and Dyer's coming in from Marseille, who, I don't say I watched that many Marseille games last season, but I certainly did watch Sheffield United a lot in the Championship when he played there, and spoke to a lot of Sheffield United fans after he left, and they to them that was like the nail in the coffin. They had no chance of surviving or being close to surviving the Premier League without his influence. He was head and shoulders their best player in the Championship. I think he'd done okay in France, but I think he was just behind a few players like Aubameyang, etc. And this is probably an Aubameyang contract that he's got to play every week. But look, he's exactly what we needed as a squad. He's got pace. He's strong. He's young. He's got goals in him. I think more than anything else, the pace and the directness of him, and going to pick the ball up, drive at players. It's exactly what we were after. And seeing Lewis Dobbin go out, who I think it's good business for us. I think he's flattered to deceive. He's a young kid, and I hope he does well. And he has a few decent substitute appearances for us, but he's never really been up to the level for me. Even though moves have shown that. But nevertheless, I wish him the best at Villa, but I think this is an upgrade for me. And it's been a while since we've done business in the summer, and you're going, okay, that person's gone out, this person's come in, upgrade. That person's moved on. Andre Gomez has gone. Wilfred Ndidi apparently he'll sign today on a free transfer from Leicester. Again, decent business, another midfielder to bolster that three that we're probably going to have in there. So yeah, if we can build a bit of depth during the summer, if we can retain one of the three of Onana, Calvert-Lewin, two of the three, hopefully, of Onana, Calvert-Lewin and Branthwaite, then I'll be confident that at least we can just have a more stable season, and a season where just builds on what should have been a comfortable season in the league.
I was surprised to listen to some of the numbers that were getting touted for Calvert-Lewin, 50 million to Newcastle. I thought, oh my God, if they can get 50 million for him, wow. I just think with his, Newcastle got Callum Wilson, who was injured a lot. I don't know why you'd go and spend 50 million on Calvert-Lewin, and they've pretty much got the same CV, haven't they?
Yeah, you could say that. I mean, I was speaking to someone about that last night, actually. I think over the last two seasons, it's probably a little bit, certainly the last season, it's a bit harsh to say that Calvert-Lewin's record is the same as Wilson's. I think Wilson had 7 injuries last season. Calvert-Lewin had 1. So he's probably, but that said, over the last 5 seasons, he's probably plays an average of, 15, 16 games, which is probably similar to what you're getting at really with Callum Wilson. For me, Calvert-Lewin is a far more athletic player than Callum Wilson is. And if you want someone to play and deputise for Isak, or to give the team something different, I don't think he's going to be far behind Isak in terms of physicality. So I don't know, but you're right. It's definitely a gamble. And 50 million would be
50 million. It'd be great for Everton, but like, well,
I can't see. Well, it didn't happen, did it? The deal fell through in the end because of Everton's valuation, apparently, of Calvert-Lewin. But it's good to hear that. It's good to hear that we're being bullish about what we want for our players. Don't need to say, listen, just give us 30 million because we need the money.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And the same with Brandwaite. You know, United come knocking 30 million, 35. You're like, no, we want 50. We want 60. Sam, see you later. Go away. And I think it'll be the same with them. I mean, Anana, I think we'd be probably willing to deal in that. And I think that's, if I was Sean Dyche, and I think I probably would say the same for most Evertonians, if there was one player out of those three that he could get good money for, and you think, you know what, we're actually fairly well covered in that position, it's Andre Onana. I was going to say that when have you seen that interview?
Yeah, brilliant.
It's Amadou Onana. Yeah, if you haven't watched that interview, by the way, Amadou Onana's getting interviewed, and there's a journalist who obviously in the background says, Andre, and he turns around and goes, my name's Andre, mate. He just puts on this proper, like, Cockney.
Mad, isn't it? How he can just switch from his native language to just that accent. Yeah, brilliant.
But yeah, I'd take the money for Onana. If it was 35 million, again, we're probably making a 10, 15 million profit on that. I think that's decent business, because I think we've got a decent enough cover in there now. And I think the two signings, if indeed he is confirmed, which I think he will be in the next 24 hours, and we've got the lad from Villa who's a big unit, and then you've still got Gallagher, still got Decore, you know, you've still got James Garner. I think there's plenty of coverage in the centre midfield then, and I'd just like to keep hold, to be honest, of Calvert-Lewin and Jarrod Brandwaite, at least for one more.
Yeah, fair enough. Mate, the last one on footy, which is just more about someone who's played the game, was like Sarah was lucky enough to interview Paul Merson today, and just wanted to say, what a fella he is. You know, I know you've read his book as well, haven't you?
I've read his book twice, yeah.
Yeah. I thought, yeah. So he's I spoke to you about it and stuff, and I've mentioned it in a few pods. There was definitely times in my life when I was struggling gambling, and I read it a few years ago, and almost felt like I was reading a book on myself, and was lucky enough to speak to him today. Spent half an hour with him just in a kind of room talking about the interview, and just a completely normal fella, just like speaking to me and you now about footy. You can just tell, proper down to earth fella, very humble, and always playing down his achievements in the game, always putting it down to working with good people, with good players. And you forget what a fantastic player he was. Won the PFA Player of the Year in I think his second or third season. With Arsenal, won 2 league titles, the FA Cup, League Cup, Cup Winners' Cup. His first 5 or 6 years at Arsenal was super successful. But a fella with some serious demons when it comes to drink, drugs and gambling. And it was just amazing just to sit there talking to him and listening to some of his struggles, but also, listen to how he's dealing with them now. And I think in a way it offered inspiration and hope for anyone who is kind of battling those demons. And he said a few stats that were really, really scary. There's on average 1.5 men take their own life every day because of gambling addictions, which is staggering to think that many people are suffering, with gambling. He said also that the Sport and Chance charity that looks after former players, it used to be 70% of it was down to drinking, 30% was gambling, and it's completely swung round now. It's 70% of people are in there for gambling, 30% of people are in there for drinking. So it's a massive problem. I don't think it's being spoken about enough. And I think obviously then gambling, addictions and drinking comes into their mental health, etc. And I think, and listen, I don't want people to listen to me now spouting off thinking, yeah, but they give betting tips every week, because speaking to Paul Merson, he's not saying about banning gambling. And, me and you both like to gamble, and we put tips out every week on it. So we're not saying, never ever gamble. It's about gambling responsibly. And if you do feel like it's getting out of hand, speaking to someone about it. Because, like you say, people that are probably hundreds of thousands of people who like having a drink doesn't mean they're an alcoholic. People who like having a bet doesn't mean they've got a gambling addiction. And it was just fascinating to listen to Paul. So I'd again recommend anyone who hasn't read his book to go and give it a read, because not only was it a fantastic, read when I read it, but I can vouch and say he's actually a top fella as well.
No, fair enough. And I honestly, I would absolutely love to meet him one day. So I'm amazed for you that met him, because second time that's happened, third time. Yeah, I'm amazed if you've met him because yeah, I'd love to have met him someday. And you know what? I think what you say is spot on, and in terms of just talking about it, like anything,
Mm,
it helps. Like someone could be listening to this thinking, do you know what? Have I got a gambling addiction? I've never really thought about it like that. Maybe it's something, and the definition of gambling is so broad. You know, it's
mm,
like you depend on all the time. Most of us depend on a lot of things to just kind of get us through the day because it's just, you know, whether it's caffeine or sometimes
mm,
alcohol. I need to have a drink of a weekend. I want to put a bet on it. But talking about it helps, and
massively, yeah.
reading about it helps. So whether it's Paul talking about his problems or whether it's us just talking about it as mates or whether it's like every now and again going to your mates, sure you want to put that on? Do you know what I mean? It's a bit much that, you know,
Yeah.
like
That was the thing that he said.
nothing wrong with saying that between mates. I
One of the
think that
questions, one of the questions he got asked was someone asked in the audience, asked him and said, you know, was there anything that someone could have said to you that kind of would have got you out the hole? And he said, plant a seed. So, you know, if it's your boyfriend, your girlfriend, you know, your husband, your wife, your friend, your cousin, whatever, just plant a seed because a lot of the time, maybe, you know, they're not going to listen. If I say, Gary, you know, you're not doing that, don't do that, you're going to probably tell me to fuck off. But if you
mm,
just kind of plant the seed and go, hey, you know, you're gambling a lot there, mate, you know what I mean? And
mm,
planting that seed, he said, was a big thing that kind of made him realize it. So, and you know, and all those tips and techniques and stories are in the book again. So definitely worth a read.
yeah,
Mate, we'll kind of brisk over a lot of these now then, because again, I know it's going to be a quick sportscast. We've been going for half an hour now, but Wimbledon just around the corner. I think it starts the 1st of July. A few bits of big news. So we reported, I think it was a couple of weeks back, that Andy Murray would not be playing at Wimbledon. Andy Murray's mum has come out like every good mother does to defend her son and said that someone has leaked the medical records and it's not actually definite that he won't be playing at Wimbledon. And she took a bit of a scathing attack on the person who leaked the records of someone who should be trusted. So there's still hope for Big Andy yet that he might end up having a swan son in Wimbledon. I very much doubt it, but Mrs. Murray was not happy that reports come out saying that he wouldn't be playing. So you never know. There's still hope that Andy might actually make it to the centre court. Who knows? You also had Big Novak, also not completely ruling himself out, although he did say he wouldn't put himself forward for Wimbledon unless there was a chance that he was going to be, you know, up for winning it.
yeah, yeah.
So, going to be interesting to see if he makes it. And the other big one that we always talk about was Emma Raducanu. She's actually just played this Wednesday afternoon against Pegula. I think that's a really nice name. And she actually saved the match point and beat Pegula, who is in the top 10. It's the first time in her career that she's beat someone in the top 10. So, talking about coming into form at the right time,
Wow.
she's absolutely having a blinder. So, Emma could actually come good in the end and actually do something because she's
You gotta put a double on England to win the Euros now and Emma Raducanu to win Wimbledon. That would be like
wow,
the
wow.
podcast bet of the century because the two things you've gone on about the most in the last 12 months has been England and Emma Raducanu.
Well, to be honest, the notes that I made about Emma Raducanu was she's come out and she made a decent start in the tournament she's in, and she spoke about getting the look back for the game, which is, you know, I know people joke and say I always have a pop at Emma Raducanu. I don't. I've just always said that her rise was just far too extreme, and it was nice to her to say, you know, I've got my look back for the game again. I'm enjoy playing again, and she clearly is because she's just beat someone in the top 10 for the first time. So long may that continue, and let's hope she goes far in this tournament. And
She
just
keeps hold of the coach for longer than 12 months as well. That might help.
yeah, stay out of the vogue and then, you know, catwalks and all that what she was doing. But who knows? And like I say, she might go into Wimbledon on the back of a win, and mate, who knows what might happen. Um, just a quick one on the golf. I thought that was really funny. Scotty Scheffler is won his sixth event of the season. So much so he's won that much money that if his caddy was in the golf rankings, I think his caddy would be like the top five earners, you know, in all the golf players. He's having an absolute season of his life, Scotty Scheffler, and his caddy's doing quite well as well. So, yeah, absolutely
Gosh,
flying.
that's
Um,
awesome.
And just before we finish on the boxing, mate, you're in obviously Vegas this weekend. Conor McGregor was meant to be fighting. He's not now. He's come out and said it was because of a broken toe. And there was a bit of back and forth, fans saying to him that, he's let Chandler down because, he's waited, a year or two for this fight to happen. McGregor come back in McGregor style and said, look, he'd have to have 10 fights to earn as much money that he would earn with fighting me once, so he can just wait his turn and all that. So it's still going on. The talk about fighting happening. I think it was September or October time now. Who knows whether that fight will happen, but what's it still like in Vegas? Is there still much buzz about the fight going on this weekend? Is there?
No, you wouldn't even know. Apart from a few billboards, you wouldn't know the UFC was on. The Copa America's on here as well, so there's been more buzz about them games. So
honestly, yeah.
Brazil played the other night. They're playing again on Friday. But no, honestly, you wouldn't even know the UFC was happening this Saturday, unfortunately.
I'll go to for you there, mate. And okay, we'll finish off on the boxing then. So it was quite nice that I actually saw the AJ Dubois fight get announced via my big Ukrainian hero Usyk. He kind of done a very sarcastic Instagram saying, look, I'm going to give you my belt, may the best man win type thing. So Usyk's give up the IBF title, and AJ and Dubois will go and fight for it in September.
Pretty sure we got a few quiz from our mates in Turkey and Saudi for that.
Yeah, God, not half. Yeah, well, my first thing was though it takes away a little bit of the Fury Usyk rematch, doesn't it? Because it was so much was built on every belt on the line, and now not every belt is on the line anymore, which is I think it's a bit of a shame, isn't it? And it just brings into all that belt politics again in boxing.
It's just setting it up. The rematch is going to happen, isn't it? And then it's going to be another undisputed fight, then, isn't it?
Because if belts,
yeah, exactly. Because if he kept hold of it and then he beats Fury again, it's like, well, Joshua's just another challenger. Which I mean,
although if Joshua wins and Usyk wins, you've already seen Usyk and Joshua, haven't you? So it's a bit like,
yeah, I know. True.
You'd almost need Joshua to win and then Fury to win, but then not to be another rematch with Usyk and then actually get Fury and Joshua.
Yeah.
There's a lot of ifs there, though, isn't there?
Yeah, if that happens, if Fury beat Usyk and then there wasn't another rematch clause, and then that sets up Fury and Joshua, which in the meantime, Dubois maybe put up a good account of himself against Joshua, and then he gets another pop at Usyk because he was beaten somewhat
controversial,
dances last time.
And then the last two bits,
Dubois, by the way, no one's giving Dubois enough credit here. He's 27, if that. One of the youngest heavyweights at that level since Mike Tyson, probably. He's fighting at that level. He's already been in with Usyk. He's now going in with Joshua. He's had a couple of defeats on his record as well, but is fighting at the very top.
It sets up a great British clash there in September, Eddie, against Frank again. I mean, we'll talk about it loads over the coming months, but I think that could be a really good September.
Yeah, 100%.
Liam Smith announced on the card as well, so that'll be good. So yeah, it should be, Al Turkey Teeth again is delivering, isn't he? Which he has done now for the last year or two. And the only other thing, mate, to say was Garcia has been given a 1-year ban, and the Haney fight has been now put down as a no contest after him, doping to the eyeballs, which is good news for boxing, I guess. Well, not good news as it puts it in a bad light, but at least Garcia is not,
Can I have my money back then on the money I lost on Haney? That's the bit that's wrong as well, isn't it?
Do you know what? I didn't even think of that. What the fuck happens there?
Well, it doesn't. Not happens. The bookie there was one a few months ago, wasn't there, where the announcer had read the scorecards out wrong. It was meant to be a unanimous victory, and they put it as a split one because he'd read the scores the wrong way round, and he corrected it immediately after the fight and said, "Oh, we're sorry, he's read it out wrong. It was this." But the bookie's like, "No, we pay out on what the guy announces."
Fuck off, the fucking cheating bastards, aren't they?
No. Yeah, so that sums up what you're saying there. By the way, we're not joking. Gambling is to us an enjoyable thing. But yeah, that's why you can't rely and put your your life savings on gambling because you've got stuff like that going on in the background.
Exactly, mate, exactly. Listen, Gary, you're on your kind of work slash holiday, and I don't want to keep you any longer. You're probably knackered with jet lag and working.
Yeah, looking at
Um,
me black watch there and looking at me like going down the pool now. What time is it? Yeah, gonna go down the pool for a
nice.
few hours.
Well, I'm going to bed, mate. So, mate, thanks again for your support on making the time and effort. Enjoy Las Vegas, and I'll see you next week.
Yeah, see you all soon. Cheers.
Thanks, everyone. See you next week.